Now it's working. What's going on, everybody? This is Ishmael from That Is a Noun. I hope everyone's doing well. I'm okay. I'm a little bit frustrated. I think mostly every person of color is frustrated because of what happened last week, and just the frustration and the anger and the feeling of hopelessness and uncertainty. Um, it's just been frustrating. It's been it's like a punch to the gut because it feels like we're basically repeating the cycle all over again. Um, when it comes to police brutality, I remember when I was young. I remember the Rodney King, and you thought, people saw that. You thought like, all right, we're gonna take this serious, and things gonna happen, and nothing happened. You go to Amadou Diallo, even though that wasn't on videotape, that angered a mass of people, and we were like, all right, it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen, change is gonna happen, and nothing happened. And so the cycle keeps on repeating itself, and it gets frustrating because you feel, you know, nothing's going to change. Um, it breaks my heart because um, no one has a solution. You know, you got a lot of people that's outraged and frustrated, but there's no solution. I know everyone's doing their part by expressing how they feel, and you know and it's just hard. It's really hard to think that over time that over time that things were going to actually change, that you know you know we were going to actually see a difference, but it hasn't. And then also, you know with Greg Floyd, the thing that hits me hard, because with That Is a Noun, is that That Is a Noun is about changing the narrative. And what's heartbreaking is that, you know, Greg Floyd was a great father. He was a great provider. And psychologically, to think about, his daughter, that, she's not going to see her daddy anymore. You know, the sad thing is that the lasting image for her is seeing her daddy on the ground and a man's knees into his neck. That's her lasting memory. I go back to a couple of years ago with Philando Castro. I probably pronounced his name wrong, but Philando, and that image of his daughter seeing a cop kill him in broad daylight, and she has that lasting memory of that. And that's the unfortunate thing with with social media nowadays, is that it's in your face, which is a plus, because now you know what black people have been talking about for decades is out there in the open. They're letting people know. This is letting people know, yes, this is happening. you know we're not making this up. This is actually happening. And so, but go back to my earlier thought, is that at the end of the day, he's a dad, and that little girl is not gonna have her dad anymore. You know, a couple of months ago we had the hashtag girl dad. Girl dad. You see those pictures of dads with their daughters, um, talking about how male role models play a role in a little girl's development. But unfortunately, this little girl is not gonna have her dad. And So it's important to put it into that perspective that that girl's not going to have a father, you know, you know. But again, it does take a village to raise a child. So I'm hoping a lot of male role models in our life is going to step up to the plate and be that role model. Because the sad thing is that no man's going to replace her father. But at the other, but at the I'm just frustrated. But at the end of the most important thing is that the other male role models in our life has to play a important role in just helping her, you know, go through the emotions of not having a father. Um, but yeah, it's just been a hard, frustrating week, to see as a man of color, you know. If you go with the coronavirus, uh, you had Ahmad, you had Sean, you had Brienne, and then you had that video of Amy Cooper calling the cops on a man who was just telling her to put her leash on a dog. And then you have George Floyd, and it got to a point where people just got tired, man. They got tired of people telling them how to grieve. You know, they got tired of people telling them how to protest. There's no manuscript on how to protest. You know, the reason why people protest because they they're unheard. You know, they've been screaming off from the rooftops, and no one took them seriously. And they just got to a point that people just couldn't take it anymore. They just It wasn't that they gave up. It's just they felt like this was the only way. They felt like people would pay attention, and hopefully people are paying attention. You have this media coverage right now, 24/7, which is good. But at the same time, I was frustrated about because yesterday was the 99th anniversary of the Tulsa massacre, and I know MSNBC played segments here and there, but that's about it. you know. And that's the one thing is that when you go back to the Tulsa massacre, you had a black owned community. You had black banks, you had black churches, you had black groceries, you had a thriving black community. And it was burned down because you had, poor white people that was frustrated. It was an incident that happened, and then you know that envy took over, and they burned down a community. They burned down the community, and people had to flee Tulsa to save their life. And then also the key thing is, for the longest time they called it the riot, but actually it was a massacre. But by calling it a riot, the the family couldn't get the actual federal the insurance loans because it was a riot. They called it a riot because if it's a riot, it's basically personal responsibility that everybody's responsible for it. So the families couldn't get the restitution for it, and so this is like important, and it's really important that if you get a chance, just go on YouTube. The ACLU did a remembrance yesterday for Black Wall Street, the Tulsa massacre, and then also there's legislation, I do believe, that the House put together. I think it's called the HR 40, where it basically demand that the descendants of Black Wall Street gets restitution, gets reparation for it. because that's the biggest, the debate. Everybody can't debate that. Yes, it did happen. You know, but now it's like, they should get the family, the descendants should get that money. So, but that was the one thing that kind of frustrated me about it, is that no one talked about that. That was like an afterthought. But that kind of gives you an idea of how, when our history gets whitewashed and forgotten, and people don't realize that plays a big role in how Black people are treated today. So is a direct link, and but no one talks about that. But unfortunately, that's what happens when our history is whitewashed. But yeah, I just needed to rant and rave because I've been holding this inside me for the longest time. I'm an optimistic person. I'm also, I'm always the cheerleader. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Things are gonna get better. But at the same time, I needed to get this off my chest because it's frustrating. Being a Black man in America. You try to do the right things, and you constantly see this in your face, constantly, every day, and you get frustrated. And then another thing that kind of gets on my nerves too is how people misuse Dr. King's quotes just because it feels good to them. You know, and like the memes that people seen out there is this, like the one picture on top, you see Dr. King holding hands with people, and they say, oh, this is how you protest. And then the bottom, you see a young Black kid with his pants going down his ass, looting a targeting them criminals. And you can't win, because if you go back to the non-violent movement, they were killed. The dogs. They were bitten by dogs. They were hoes. The churches were bombed. The homes were bombed. They were a threat. And like I said, I love how people try to revise or rewrite history. Before he died, he was the most hated man in America, and now he's been rebranded as this man that everybody loved. No, America did not like Dr. King, and that's the reality. You know, these are the same people that, when they talk about Rosa Parks, they talk about, oh, she was an old woman that got onto the bus. No, she was not an old woman. She was only 42 years old. And so, you know, it's important for us as a people to learn our history, and connect the dots of from slavery to Reconstruction to the end of Reconstruction, which led to Jim Crow, Civil Rights Movement, and to now, and put that puzzle together. And I know a lot of people have been putting that puzzle together for the longest time, and it's there, but people just, don't give a damn, you know? And so I just wanted to get this out because I just felt like I needed to get a lot off my chest. Um, if anyone, have something in the comments, say something in the comments. Let me know how you feel. You know, it's just frustrating. It's just real frustrating that we have to go through this over and over again. You know, you know, we went through it through Rodney King. We went through it with Amadou Diallo. We went through it through Bell. We went through it with Trayvon Martin. You know, we went through it with Eric Garner, and there's so many other names I'm not saying right now. But when is it going to end? When is it going to end? You know, for the longest time, people of color has honored that contract with America. We honored that contract. We've been through wars. You know, when the First World War, before, we were, before they, desegregated the truth. If you go back to World War I, we were like the front line. We were the shield. We were the shield. We were the shield. And we come back home and get treated like shit. But we still honored that contract and that idea that America is going to one day live up to their responsibility. You know, you go back to World War II. We fight against the Nazis. We win. We come back home. We still get treated like shit. Most of those soldiers that came home was denied the GI Bill, but they still honored that contract, thinking that America would live up to its promise. You know, you had the civil rights movement. I'm skipping stuff, but you had the civil rights movement, the non-peaceful movement. We honored that contract with America to say, yes, we believe in America's potential, so we're going to honor this contract. And honoring that contract, we got the Voting Act rights. We got the fair housing, but still, they didn't honor that contract. But we still honored that contract. And it gets to a point over time where Black people are just going to say, you know what, fuck it. We've honored this contract since the beginning of this country. Even before emancipation, we honored this contract that we were that they're going to get the shit together, but they haven't. And it's get to a point where Black people are like, you know what, fuck this shit. Why should I honor this contract in this society if they haven't honored that contract? If they haven't honored it, honor. I'm just frustrated right now. But if they didn't honor it, oh my God, I'm sorry about that. But yeah, it's just frustration. But yeah, it's just really frustrating. And it gets to a point where you had enough. You don't want to hear it. You don't want to hear from people telling you how you're supposed to protest, how you're supposed to grieve, how you're supposed to do this. They've been telling us this for the longest time. Maybe it's time for you to just shut the fuck up and just listen. Just listen. Just listen. That's all Black people want you to do, is just listen to what frustrate us. Just listen to what frustrate us. Don't you know come butt in and say, "Oh, yeah, but." No buts. Just shut up and just listen. Listen, retain the information, have empathy. And that's the biggest thing. Put yourself in our position. You know, one of the things I probably would recommend a lot of people that's following me right now is look up Jane Elliott. Jane Elliott did a experiment with a bunch of white women in the audience, and she asked them to raise their hands if you would ever change your place of comfortability to the struggle of black people. You know what happened? They didn't raise their hands. No one in that audience raised their hands. So again, it goes back to the empathy aspect of it. Is that until you have empathy for another person and put yourself in that shoes, at the end of the day, you're not going to understand, or you're not going to relate to a person that has to wake up every morning, go outside wondering if they do the wrong thing by accident or do nothing at all, might not make it tomorrow. So those are like the most important things that people of color have to wake up every day, especially with the coronavirus. You go outside, you put your mask on, and you try to do the right thing, and now you got to worry about you getting murdered by the cops. And then also the main thing is the post-traumatic syndrome that a lot of people of color are facing, is that we see this every day. it fucks us up psychologically. It fucks us up psychologically that we see this every day. Like the George Floyd video, it's like is on heavy rotation. And I admit I'm at fault because I retweeted it because I think it's important that people see it. But psychologically, is messed up that we actually see that. That's us. That could be one of our uncles, our brothers, our fathers. That could be me or anyone who's watching this live chat with me. Is that could be one of us, and that's the scary thing about it. It's just we're dealing with so much. A lot of people are working, worrying about if they'll have rent for next month. You know, people are working check to check. They have families. They're worried about their livelihood, and at the same time, they're worried about if they're going to make it home. So a lot of people are stressful right now. It's a stressful time right now. You know, and you know, everybody use different ways to let out their frustration, whether it's positive or negative. Nobody knows. It's just this is my way of letting people know how I'm frustrated, and I just needed to get my point across out because it's important. Because that's the one thing too is I do suffer from depression, and it's been hard, and I don't want to fall into that trap again, um, of having those random thoughts because I know when you suffer from depression, you have those random thoughts in your head, and I don't want those, and so this is my outlet, and so using this outlet as a way to let people know how I feel, to get it out there, and it's out there, and whoever takes it differently, I don't care, but as long as people know how I feel, and I feel like that's the most important thing. Um, and I thank everyone who's following me right there. I see you, Swag the Great. I see you there, brother. How you doing, brother? I see everyone's out there, so thank you. I appreciate it. Um, I just feel like if you have a moment, I would recommend everyone do that. Just live feed and let everyone know how you feel, because I think the more people out there go out there and tell them how you feel, they can relate, and we can build like a community, and we can you know take this energy and do it in a productive way. So again, thank you for listening to me. I appreciate it. um Catch me on Instagram, that is a noun. YouTube, that is a noun. Twitter, that is a noun. um I'm excited that I'm gonna put a lot of great content out, pertaining to men of color, um, when it comes to fatherhood, as well as other interesting topics. So I'm excited about it. I hope you guys follow me on YouTube, and thank you for taking the time to listen to me rant and rave a little bit. So I thank you guys. I appreciate it. God bless you guys. I pray for you guys. Pray for your families. Um, if you get a chance, if you see a black woman or a black man, just go up to them and tell them you love them, man. Because that's just a random person. Don't who it doesn't matter who. Just tell them I love you and I appreciate you. Because I think we need that right now. We need that affirmation. All the shit that we've gone through right now, a little affirmation goes a long way. So again, thank you guys.